Hi, I'm Jim Eberly, and I'm the district membership chair. But you probably already know that. You've been receiving emails with my name on them for the past several weeks. Thank you for joining us. I sincerely appreciate your interest. District 7360 has held many training sessions. We try to inform, to excite, to teach, to encourage, and to motivate Rotarians. And the most common complaint we've heard about training year in and year out is time and travel. We ask you to give up a Saturday. We ask you to drive 2 to 3 hours each way. Well, we have slowly been changing that. And then along comes COVID-19. Forget necessity, COVID-19 is the mother of invention. So welcome to District 7360's very first virtual membership summit. We hope that by holding 4 one-hour sessions, one each week for the next 4 weeks, we can give you the tools you need to make your club stronger and to make you a better advocate for Rotary. That's all we're trying to do. It's that simple. We want to help you build some skills. We want to allow you to grow into your goals. Take a look at a short video from Darren Hardy.
To achieve what you have not, you must become what you are not. You have to grow into your goals. Look, if you're struggling to achieve your goals, it's because your goals are above your head. I'm sorry to say, but your goals are too big for you. You keep bludgeoning your head against the wall, but it's not going to help. The only way to achieve goals bigger than you've been able to achieve before is to become more than you've ever been before.
The only way to achieve goals bigger than you've been able to achieve before is to become more than you've ever been before. For us, that means we're going to have to learn how to do some things new, and we're going to have to apply some new strategies in place of those strategies that haven't worked before. That's what this series is all about. Now I get to introduce our very first presenter. He's a staunch advocate for membership, also Interact and Rotaract. He's a one-time college football coach, a professor emeritus at Bloomsburg University, and our district governor. It's my pleasure to present Irvin Wright.
Hello, everyone. Thank you and welcome to the District 7360 Virtual Membership Summit. We greatly appreciate you making the commitment to join us today. And I hope you are planning to join us for the next 3 membership summits. Remember, each session builds on the previous session. Your takeaway from this experience should be information to help you become more intentional about your strategies to grow Rotary. I will review the roles, responsibilities, and expectations of club members. What is leadership? We have all thought about this question, especially those of us in leadership position and those who aspire to a leadership position. Leaders are visionaries with a poorly developed sense of fear and no concept of the odds against them. They make the impossible happen. Quote from Robert Jarvik. He was the inventor of the artificial heart. An observation. If your membership committee has developed an intentional plan, this plan should include sequential steps towards achieving your goals. Maybe your goal is to bring in 3 new members every quarter. But on the other hand, if your membership has been trending downward consistently, this could be a red flag. Intentional versus accidental or passive strategies. Developing a sequential plan towards outcomes or goals versus as a consequence of your Rotary Club in a community, you will attract new members, or we will attract new members by hope and a prayer. Intentional strategies. These are the elements of developing a sequential membership plan, a step-by-step plan towards an outcome or a goal. We will do this, and it should result in that. If something goes wrong, What can you do? Change it. If we execute this strategy well, it should bring us 3 new members every quarter. Passive strategies. This might work. Sounds like a strategy without an intentional plan. Hope is not a strategy. The president's role. The club visionary. What will the club look like in 10 years? 5 years? 3 years? At the end of my term as president, for what will my year as president be remembered? How can I leave the campground in better shape than I found it? As a visionary leader, this is something that is repeatedly on my mind. Every day, are you making progress towards achieving your goals? Everyone else's role, promoting, supporting, and executing the club vision. Are you involved in the planning? How much are you committed to the strategies? Are you involved in the actual carrying out of the action plan? Stewardship. And it's important that you develop a very careful plan that's achievable. Remember, this is sequential and it should lead you to achieving your outcome or goals. The club leader's role. You are the front line of the Army fighting Rotary's biggest enemy, complacency. How do we react to that? How do we handle that? How do you generate excitement in your club? You also are fighting Rotary's second biggest enemy, COVID-19, something that impacts on every Rotarian, every club in our district. While you are working on the plan, you want to make sure that the intentional plan includes measurable goals. After taking care to identify specific, measurable goals, what happens if the goals doesn't work? Change them. Help membership committee chairs set their goals. Make sure that they are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. Through that process, it is an absolute must that you develop a written club membership plan. Membership challenge. If your club is over 25 members, grow your club by a net 10 members or 10%. If your club is below 25 members, grow to 25 members. If you are below 15 members, close the gap between where you are and 25 members by half. And at this time, I would like to introduce the next speaker, Scott Bayline from Port Allegheny, Pennsylvania. He is a past district governor, assistant Rotary coordinator covering districts 7280, 7305, 7360. He is married with one daughter who, by the way, has started up her own Rotaract club at Mansfield University of Pennsylvania. So please join me in welcoming Scott Bayline.
Thanks, Governor Irvin. Appreciate that introduction. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the why does membership matter? Does it really matter? I guess I would start with why do you stay and why did you join Rotary? Or my start in Rotary is a little different than most people. Most people say that they were invited to Rotary. I actually was told I was going to join Rotary, but I didn't stay because I was told. I stayed because I got engaged and I enjoyed Rotary a lot. And so I wanted to share that experience with my friends and my family. And I think probably if you're here today, you want to do that as well. When you think about it, really membership drives everything we do. If you're passionate about projects, if you're passionate about the foundation, if you're passionate about inclusion and diversity in your club and your community, those things are all being driven by membership. The more members you have, the more that you can do, and that's as well as your quantity of projects, but it's also your quality of projects. If you have a diverse membership that covers all areas of your community, you are going to get ideas from different areas of the community and different projects that will make your community a better place. So we got a couple of handouts we sent out, and I don't really want to spend a lot of time on those. Handout that we provided, which was the 5 things I wish all Rotarians knew and believed. And probably point number 1 is one of the key points there. We're a membership organization, but our product is service. Membership drives all that. And the highlighted area there talks about the attrition. And that occurs mostly in our members who are with us for less than 3 years. Those are things that you can read, and I think you should take those to heart. The other thing I wanted to share with you that was in your handouts was the Rotary Basics. If you're one who's been around for a while, you might have actually seen a hard copy. I have a whole bunch of them, and they are a neat little book, very simple. It's very basic. I gave them out when I was district governor to my clubs, and said, if you like them, I gave them a few, I'll get you more. I had several clubs who really liked them, gave them out to prospective members as well as their own members, just to kind of understand Rotary, some of the things you might not understand as a member, how the foundation works, how a structure works with the international organization. And it actually talks about our areas of focus. One thing is that's dated, so it won't have our new area of focus in it, the environment, but you can always write that in. So with that being said, the next question is, do you have a membership problem? And I would go through a few questions. Do you have a membership committee? If you don't have a membership committee, you might have a membership problem. And I understand in smaller clubs, a committee may be difficult because you have smaller clubs. And in that situation, everybody's really the membership committee. You certainly don't want a committee of one. Everybody ignores that one person except for when they give that report at the end of the month, and that's person's problem. It's really the club that should be engaged. Certainly others, some people are better at it than others, and you can determine that inside your club who's the best at the closer and who's the best at bringing in prospective members and so forth. The other question I'd ask is, do you feel your club is good the way it is? If you say yes, you might have a membership problem because attrition is real, as we know. People will leave, life happens, things change, and if you're not pursuing new members, those people will move on, and suddenly you'll notice in a few years that your club is much smaller than it was. The other question I'd ask is, has your club declined in membership over the last few years? And that's an indication that you might have a membership problem. Either you're not retaining members if you're bringing them in, or maybe you're not bringing in new members and attrition is just taken over. If you're not retaining new members, you definitely might have a membership problem. So I'd take a look at that. So where do we go from there? Well, all of us have a membership problem, because if we can't grow Rotary, we are not going to pass on our legacy to our next generation of Rotarians, our kids and our grandkids. And we want Rotary to be around to do the things that we see being done today. So what do we do? Well, first of all, we want to identify the problem. And that's going to be different for each one of your clubs. And you have to assess that, and you have to be real about assessing it. You want to solve the right problem. Maybe you're great at bringing members in, but they just don't stick around. Well, that's a different problem than not attracting members. You don't have an attraction problem. Obviously, you're getting people in there, but when they get in the door, you're either not engaging them or whatever. That's your problem to help figure out. The one thing I wanted to do at this point is just kind of share a personal story. And it really opened my eyes as to why sometimes clubs aren't attractive to prospective members and why members leave. Although it's based in fact, I've altered it to protect the guilty, fit the allotted time, and of course to make it a little more interesting. And those of you who know where I'm from, I hold no ill will towards my former clubs. Please don't share that with them. But I had an experience with my club recently that just really opened my eyes, and I think it made a case for why we need to do some things differently. So when COVID-19 hit, my club, like a lot of clubs, went into hibernation. We tried to do some things virtually. We had 3 or 4 of us who would show up, and the rest of them didn't have time, whatever, didn't want to do it. So the moment the state opened back up again, said our restaurants could, have folks back in their facilities, we went back to in-person meetings. I had a discussion with my staff and my family that was a high-risk activity that I just wasn't going to take for their safety. And so I objected when it came up in email and said that I think that's a poor decision based on our demographics, and it's just something I'm not comfortable with. Well, they went ahead and did it. I'm one person, that's fine. So I figured they'd kind of catch on after a while. And what we saw is a slow and steady decline in membership. It started out, this person transferred, this person left the area, this person hadn't been coming for a while, they just dropped off. So over time, that became a little steadier flow. So the club got a little concerned about it, and they decided to assess the problem, and they determined that the problem was that we did not have members attending the physical meeting. So I got a phone call. You're past district governor. When are you going to start coming back to the meetings? I said, I'm not. So what do you mean you're not? So there's about a 15-minute banter about why, for me personally, and for my business, it was not a decision I was going to do. And it was interesting. I tried to pull out the Rotarian polio card. I said, there's another virus going around that we've had a little problem with for about 35 years, getting rid of. That's called polio. Yeah. So we went back and forth a little bit about that. And I'm in the insurance business, and actuarial departments have told our companies that life has changed. We're going to be different from now on. People aren't going to go to the office. People aren't going to drive as much. And they're betting by lowering rates. If you got your auto insurance renewal recently, you probably noticed the rates went down. That's because they believe that we are going to behave differently. We're going to drive less. Now, the problem in our area is nobody told the deer that there was a lockdown. So we still get a lot of deer claims, but we're working on that. We're trying to get the word out there. So, obviously I've been a long time Rotarian, and I have a good relationship with a lot of the members. And so there was some banter back and forth, but we got to the end of the call and they said, so when are you going to come back? I said, I'm not. You didn't hear me. I don't need to. I can come to a Rotary meeting 3-4 times a week, and I don't need to leave my office. Sometimes I go to 2 or 3 a day. And I said, it's a position that I've taken with my staff and with my family. I'm just not taking that risk. And so hung up the phone, got a few emails from different folks over that rest of that day. And it really wasn't directed at me. It was just kind of directed at the club to try to help assess their problem. And they were convinced that their problem was that Rotarians were not coming back to the physical meeting, and they needed to fix that, and that we couldn't be a Rotarian without coming to a physical meeting. And so now there's no other reason why, but at 3 a.m. in the morning, sometimes I wake up and have some revelations. That has nothing to do with my age or gender or anything like that. It's just, a lot of things going through my head. So I woke up that night and it dawned on me. We do this to our prospective members. We do this to our current members. We, instead of asking them, how do you want to participate in Rotary? We tell them, this is Rotary. would you like to join us? Or you need to join us? So that morning I sent an email to my president and said that I will be joining our E-Club. Then later I sent one to the entire club. They were baffled. They don't understand why I would do that. But the reality of it is, I had seen that in our club numerous times. I was part of the problem because I didn't understand it. I didn't address it. Oh, that's just, member being him. But from the outside, that's very unattractive. It's a message that says, we don't really want you here. So with that, I want you to think about how you are perceived by outsiders when they come to visit your club, or when you invite a prospective member. Are they greeted? Are they told they can't sit here because that's Rotarian A's seat? Or are they embraced, and are they asked why they came, why they would like to, what they would like to do and what they would get from their Rotary membership? It's not how you can join us, it's how we can open up to allow you to participate with us. And the bottom line is adapt. Take a look at what is going on in the world, take advantage of that opportunity, and invite some folks to your virtual meetings. If you're doing physical meetings, that's your call, obviously. However you're meeting, there's folks out there that want to help, that want to do something in their community. We have a tremendous opportunity right now. Take advantage of that. Okay, with that, I'd like to pass it over to Terry Weaver. Terry Weaver is a past district governor from District 7750. He was served in 2015, 2016. He is also, like me, an assistant Rotary coordinator for Zone 33. He's also received the citation for meritorious service and service above self from Rotary International, and those are quite esteemed awards. He has 2 children and 4 grandchildren. Terry?
Thank you, Scott. I'm here with you today to talk about member engagement and the member engagement tools that you have at your fingertips. If you're not terrifically proficient with these, hopefully you'll be more aware of them when we finish this segment. This is not training how to do it. I want you to understand what's there for you. And no doubt there's someone in your club, and there surely is in your district team, a go-to person that you can get help with these tools if you decide to use them. Member engagement. The tools for this are first an e-bulletin or e-newsletter, something to get out on the wire with members and potential members to let them know what your club is doing. Second piece of member engagement is capturing prospects and tracking prospects. Yes, members are joining Rotary during this environment. We have had members join Rotary clubs that they've never attended in person. And we're doing virtual member information events. We call them Discover Rotary every month. And we're having members join as a result of that experience. Drip marketing, we'll talk a little bit about this. Drip marketing is how you keep in touch with not only your members, but also your potential members. And then also tracking member engagement. You really want to know who's engaged in activities in the club and who's not. So let's take these one at a time. Club e-bulletins and e-newsletters, they're slightly different, but the options are these. DACDB, in the base product that the district is paying for, doesn't cost you anything, has a feature called Easy Bulletin. It's a template style bulletin that you can organize, and if you happen to be also using a DACDB website, the same stories that appear on your website will be the stories that appear in your bulletin automatically once you get it set up. Now, it takes a little bit of setup, takes a little bit of experimentation, but it's a nice product. Or you can do something really simple. This is a nice bulletin produced by a club in my district, Rotary Club of Anderson. From the looks of it, this is produced in probably a Microsoft Word platform that probably 1,000 people in your district are familiar with. And it's easily converted then to a PDF or Adobe Acrobat file, so you can distribute, or you can post it on your website, or you can post it in DACDB. Now here's what an e-newsletter would look like. This is simply in an email body. You'll see the email address field up in the top. This is my copy that I get, and I get one of these from my club each week. Each Monday, here's what's happening in Rotary, and the subject is This Week in Rotary. So it starts with a table of contents up at the top, and then like any e-newsletter, you just scroll down to see what you're interested in. Scroll down far enough, we get to a little promo on our club membership event that we have twice a month, Discover Rotary, where we invite prospective members to have a look at our club and at Rotary International. Right below that, item 7, the food drive to benefit our adopted elementary school. We adopted the poorest elementary school in Greenville County last year, and it's been a project that literally brought people off the bench. And I just have to take an aside to that. If your club has not launched a new service project lately, do it. Figure out something that addresses the challenges and problems in your community caused by this pandemic and launch a project. You'll be amazed if you launch a new project, people will come off the bench that you've never seen at any other project workday, and they'll show up. The key to member engagement is a smorgasbord of member service opportunities. So let's talk about capturing and tracking prospects. You know, it's highly common for Rotary clubs to get leads. It's also highly common for Rotary clubs to forget them. And when I'm not doing Rotary and I'm not playing with the grandkids, I do coaching of small businesses. And small businesses are no different. Small businesses that don't have enough new business, it's because they don't have enough prospects. And there's only one thing worse than not having a prospect, that is losing track of one that could have been good. So here's how to track prospects in DACDB. This Don't Squander Your Leads sheet is essentially a step-by-step way to do this. It's on page 2 of the handout that you received by email. And you first start using some of the non-member member types. I know that's kind of counterintuitive, but everyone has a member type assigned in DACDB, but some of those member types are not members of Rotary, such as guests, potential members, proposed members, and so forth. So you can use a type of member that is not a Rotarian and enter their profile in DACDB. So you simply start just like you'd add a new member if they join your club. You start with add a member, only instead of making them an active member of Rotary, you make them a potential member. Now that is a local record only. It stays within your club. It doesn't go up to RI, doesn't become part of the RI leads database. It's simply there in this platform that your district has provided so that you can keep track of people who might be interested in someday joining your club. So those show up then on a special tab. If you're using potential members, then as you go to the My Club tab, you'll see a potential members tab, and that's where those non-Rotarian members are. You'll also see active and honorary members over where you traditionally see them on the left-hand side. So you can switch hit back and forth. Now, let's talk about this idea of drip marketing. Show of hands, anybody ever buy anything from Amazon? Put your hand up in the air if you ever bought anything from Amazon. Okay, I get 4 or 5 emails from Amazon a day with good ideas for things I might want to buy. And they typically pay a little attention to what you bought. So when I bought some toys for the grandkids, of course, I immediately started getting diaper ads. That's just the way their drip marketing works. But this is a little known function of DACDB. And what it allows you to do is execute on this strategy known as drip marketing. Now you might wonder what that is. Some of you probably already know. Well, I want to make sure I had a credible definition, so I went to my personal favorite research source, Wikipedia, and here's what I found. A communication strategy that sends or drips a pre-written set of messages to customers or prospects over time. Now, in our case, customers are our members. These messages often take the form of email marketing, though other media can also be used. Obviously, direct mail at great expense is a drip marketing strategy as well. But the idea is to keep your brand, your club's name, in front of potential members. And right now, even more importantly, keep your club's name in front of your current members so they don't forget about us. Now, what sort of messages would we send these folks? Well, in Rotary, we'd send them messages like e-newsletters or e-bulletins. We'd send them news releases or event announcements, project workday announcements, major projects, anything that's going on in your club, particularly things where you'd like people to show up. And to what audience? Well, in Rotary, I believe your number one drip marketing audience should be your own members. Let's face it, folks. If you had more members that were really sold on Rotary, they'd be bringing more people into Rotary. They would believe in it enough to do that. So think about reselling your own members on Rotary. Prospective or potential members, of course, would be the number two audience, people that have expressed some interest in your club, maybe visited your club once upon a time, but they'll forget about that really quickly. There is a lot of messaging coming at a human. And if you don't keep your brand in front of them, other people will, such as Amazon. And then once you bring those folks into the membership proposal process, you actually find out that they're interested in joining, you get a new member proposal in front of the board, then you upgrade them to proposed members. And then it's an easy deal. When they join, simply take that same profile that you've been working on all this time, you've now collected up all their contact information, and switch it into an active member. Other categories, such as Friends of Rotary. These may be people that may or may not have an interest in Rotary, but you want to keep in touch with them. And the point is that you can slightly repurpose the same message. You can take the same e-bulletin, you can take the same e-newsletter, and you can just slightly tweak the front end of it, and you can send it to these various different audiences, or send them all the same thing. Now, I wouldn't suggest you send something out as often as Amazon does. In fact, about twice a month. It's not going to get in anybody's way. It's not going to cause anybody any aggravation. And contrary to some people's belief, there's nothing illegal about sending unsolicited email to a person. There is a law known as the CAN spam law that says here's how you have to do it. And of course, DACDB email, PMail, complies with all of that. The one thing that you do have to watch is you can't use a misleading subject line. So you can't send out a Rotary newsletter with a subject line of like, win a car. So you have to keep in mind just the basics of e-marketing. But other than that, if a person doesn't want to hear from you ever again, there's a link down at the bottom. They can unsubscribe. That's automatic, and we don't bother them ever again. Anybody that's ever visited your meeting as a guest, and anybody that's ever visited a project workday, somebody that wasn't a Rotarian, but you invited them to a project workday, the key element in that, folks, is the sign-in sheet. I'll say that again. The key success factor in guests and people that come out to help you on a service project is the sign-in sheet. And if you put a sign-in sheet in front of an American, they'll sign in. If you put at the top name, email, and mobile phone, sure enough, they'll give you their email, they'll give you their mobile phone. Happens all the time. You'd be surprised at what people will do when you put a form in front of them. They'll fill it out. And of course, you might also keep track of local media outlets. Maybe there's somebody that runs a local or community newspaper. Maybe there's a local radio outlet, perhaps a TV station, might be interested in some of your projects that have a little bit bigger footprint. So what vehicle would we use to do this? Well, you could scrape all your member emails and put it into your Outlook or your personal email and try to keep track of all that, which would be very difficult to do and a lot of work. And of course, then you'd have to finger in each new member as they came into your club, and you'd have to drop out people that are terminated. It'd be a lot of work, but you could do it that way. Or you could use any of the several generic email engines, MailChimp, Vertical Response, Constant Contact, or a few of those. That's a way you could do it. Or you could use something that you have at your fingertips and is absolutely free, and that would be the PMail or personalized mail feature in DACDB. Now, if you haven't tried this before, I'd encourage you to experiment around with it or connect up with someone in your club that's more familiar with these tools perhaps than you are. So how do you do it? You start from that potential members tab on the My Club tab, My Club page. Up at the top right-hand corner, you simply click an icon that says P-mail all. So I'm going to send a personalized email to every member on this page. And it'll start with, Dear John, Dear Jack, Dear Jim, whatever's in the database. And it will appear to come from you or perhaps the club president, perhaps the club secretary, whomever you decide. Then what do you send them? You take material that you probably should have already in place. If not, I implore you, while people have got some time on their hands in this COVID environment, invent an e-bulletin. That'd be a bulletin converted to electronic delivery, or that e-newsletter idea, that just long email with information about the club in various different sections down through the newsletter. And you make those into a template, meaning if you figure it out once, then all you have to do is replace things in subsequent issues. And then you click send. Everybody in the club gets all that same stuff. All the potential members get all that. And you fill people in on what your club is doing and what your club is about. And you remind them of your brand, that your Rotary Club is there when they're ready to become part of it. So I wanted to move on quickly to the idea of tracking member engagement. Tracking member engagement. Here's why that's important. First of all, member engagement is your #1 member retention strategy. The way to keep members is to keep them involved in Rotary. An early warning metric, the #1 key performance indicator that somebody's going to leave, is they stop showing up. In fact, I read a book one time. It was actually a book about employees, but the title of the book was I Quit, But I Forgot to Tell You. And you have people like that in your Rotary Club. They have already quit, but they forgot to tell you. And if you're not paying attention to who's not showing up, it's hard to rescue those people. It's also a PI/PR opportunity. If you are engaging members and contributing projects to the community and keeping track of those community service hours and those community service dollars, it's the material for a press release. It's also what drives receipt of the Rotary citation. In order to receive the Rotary citation, you need to create service activities and you need to keep track of how many people, how many service hours, how much money was involved. And this feature in DACDB rolls that all up for you. So you simply establish a project. Members can literally report their own hours, or they can send them to the club secretary, fill in those blanks, and then that rolls up through the course of the whole year to where you have a complete project total at the end of the year. You go into the Rotary site and you enter that to contend for the Rotary citation. A boss taught me this once, and I'll say it to you. You've probably heard this. You cannot manage what you don't measure. You can't manage what you don't measure. If you're not measuring the degree to which your members are engaged in your Rotary Club, then you really cannot manage member retention very effectively. So the tool to do this is called the DACDB engagement module. Now, it is a premium subscription feature. Costs a little bit over $100 a year to use this. Many of your clubs already have the attendance module. This is just the upgrade version of this. Same price, no charge upgrade. I call it DACDB attendance on steroids, because what it does is it allows you to track not just the things required to meet a makeup, but everything that a member participates in the course of a month. So follow me here. If your club met 4 times in a month, a member missed one of those but attended 3, and then participated twice that month in a service project or a committee activity, something related to Rotary. Basically, that's 5 activities in the course of the month. That member is 125% engaged. They're not just engaged from a standpoint of 4 activities a month, which is your standard meeting format, but rather 5. If all you're keeping track of is attendance, you'll completely miss that 5th activity because it's required to fill in a blank as far as attendance is concerned. So it tracks all member activities, volunteer hours, committee meetings, funding, member related activities, board meetings qualify as club service activities. So you can roll that all up together, and you do that in the form of the DACDB engagement module, and that's also providing the annual roll up for the Rotary citation. You have that flyer in your packet. It's page 3 of the attachment that you got earlier this week. And I encourage you to look into that. You simply go to their website. Their company website is dacdb.org. The member database is dacdb.com, but you go to dacdb.org and you can find the information and pricing on the engagement module. They do offer free trials on all this stuff. So you might want to think about this as a way to keep track of who's on first, what's on second, and who's actually participating in the life of your Rotary Club. We have a couple minutes, so I'd be happy to take questions. And the best way to do that probably would just be to either unmute yourself or hold down your space bar like a push to talk switch on a microphone, and let me know if you have any questions about this material we've covered. Can you tell me how your club has been using some of these tools, perhaps, if this is not new to you?
I have a question.
Sure.
If we put potential members in DACDB, which presumably would have their minimum, their name and their email, who is that visible to?
That's visible to other club members. It's not intended to go outside your club. It doesn't go to RI. And basically, it's just a local prospecting database. It's the same thing that a company would do if they were putting prospects in, say, a customer relationship management platform. And my suggestion would be what you want for potential members is their name, their email address, and a mobile phone.
Sure. Thank you. And then my other question, I don't know if it pertains to this particular section, but, you know, we've been doing the Zoom meetings and they've been great. And we're, you know, recruiting new members, which I'm getting the hang of, you know, how to interact with a new member without shaking their hand, going up to them afterwards, all that. So that's a little tricky.
Weird.
There were some follow-up emails and texting instead, but like back in the day, if you wanted to go to another club's meeting, you'd look them up on a directory, or you knew when they were meeting, you showed up, said, hi, I'm a Rotarian. How easy, or is there a method to find the Zoom meetings now, or the folks that are meeting virtually? Like, I'm not so sure that,
Good question.
If we're not sending out the link to a member, how our new potential member, how are they going to find us?
The place you want to do that is in the DACDB calendar. You want to post your virtual meetings in the DACDB calendar. And what I do is I don't want that link floating out there for, you know, spammers and hackers and all that sort of thing. So I put the Zoom link actually in the confirmation footer that a person gets back when they register for that meeting. It's free. Make it a registration event. You're not charging anything. You're simply asking, in the case of someone you don't know, you'll ask them for their name, email, and phone number. For one of your members, perhaps it's interested in one of those events, they just click on there and register just like they'd register for anything else. They've got a username and password. And then when they click the last button in the registration process, they get an on-screen printable confirmation. But more importantly, they get an email with the live link in there to the Zoom meeting.
Thank you.
Barry, Joe Ray, I had a question regarding getting members to use DACDB.
Mm-hmm.
We've had probably some issues. In fact, some time ago, we went to, instead of publishing a club directory, we used DACDB to be our club directory. We tried to get everybody's photo in there, and in order for members to get to know each other, we recommend that they go there. We provide them login credentials, etc. But a lot of members feel that it's cumbersome and hard to use, and I'm wondering if you've experienced that and how you dealt with it.
Well, first, what you want to do is you want to deliver what you want them to do in DACDB in the easiest possible way. For example, what we're talking about here in meetings that you can register for, there's a feature in Pmail that's called an event link. And the event link is exactly like what you got for this event, which was, you know, register now. And what you noticed when you clicked on that is we know who you were and we know which event you were registering for and took you right there. And so I think it's using some of those tools rather than, if you send somebody an email and says, you know, say log into DACDB, find the calendar, and then find this event, they're never going to make it. What you want to do is send them that hot wire link right to what you want them to do. I think that gets around a whole lot of user training issues. And, you know, the fact is, and I mean, I'm in a large club. I've got a large sample size to say this from. The majority of our members do not enter their own changes into DACDB themselves. They send it to the club secretary or the club admin, and that person puts them right in. I'm not about teaching people to become DACDB experts. I'm about putting our events and activities out there in a way they can easily access them. One more. Anybody else got a question or experience?
I have. Go ahead, Catherine.
I have a question. The templates you talked about for the newsletters, the e-newsletters, where were they located again?
That feature is called EZ Bulletin.
Okay.
And that is on the My Club page. If you don't see it there, up at the top right-hand corner, there's a little icon that looks like a gear, and that pops open all the choices that could be on that page, and you could drag it onto your page.
Okay, thank you. I like that idea. That'll make my job easier.
Sure. One more bonus, Hugh, quickly.
Just a quick question. With Zoom, is there any way to easily keep track of who is participating from your club so that we can keep track of attendance and try and measure what we're trying to manage?
Yeah, hi Terry, this is David Gross from Shepherdstown Rotary. We capture the Zoom attendees. Whoever the host is of the Zoom call, there's actually a report of everybody that's logged into the meeting, the duration that they were on, whether it's for 1 minute or for all the minutes. And you can get that report downloaded by CSV. But sometimes all I do is I just do a screenshot of whoever showed up, and I'll send that to the club secretary, and they input it.
Good ideas.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, we want to move on to a little bit of conversation about some of your other experiences. And for that, our facilitator is Patrick Eakes, my friend, and also the Rotary coordinator for this entire zone. Patrick's territory goes from Pennsylvania down to the Georgia border. He's past governor of District 7690, also a recipient of the Citation for Meritorious Service, as well as the Service Above Self Award. He lives in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, and he and his wife, Kristen, have 2 children that are also participants in Rotary service projects in the Greensboro area. So please welcome Patrick Eakes.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate that, and it is great to be with you all. Terry just talked a good bit about engagement of members and trying to keep that connection going, and it's absolutely critical. It's critical when we don't have a pandemic to worry about, but at a time where many of our clubs are unable to meet, either because of restrictions put in place by the government, or perhaps their meeting space is not open, or they have members who just don't want to travel out at this point. It's doubly important to be focused on keeping our members engaged. So that's what we want to talk about today. And you all are going to have a nice chance to participate in this part of the meeting. We want to keep our members engaged and connected, and we know that our communities need us as much as they've ever needed us now. So I'd like to talk about service projects that are compatible with the situation we find ourselves in. I'm going to just briefly go through a couple of slides, and I will tell you all of these are real live projects that are occurring. In fact, every one of these came to my attention within the last 24 hours. So I didn't have to go out and do too much harvesting. All of these I have seen in a newsletter or an email, or someone made me aware. A blood drive. This is something, as you know, there are blood drives happening here and there. There's a real need for blood right now, also a need for plasma. This is a club that is involved with this, so they're able to promote it. They're able to assist, and they're obviously being safe about what they're doing, but it is a way that they can help their community as well as communities beyond their own in a careful way. Here's a project, and you're probably wondering, what are they doing in Rotary? They're coloring. Well, this was a project, and each one of these members you see did this from their home or their office. So they were not physically together, but coloring books were sent out to every single member. The members colored the first page or two of the coloring book. They signed the coloring book, put their age, and those books are then collected and taken to a children's hospital. So the children who are in the hospital are going to get a coloring book and crayons. That's a good thing. Their parents are going to look and see that a 75-year-old was the first one to use the coloring book and going to get a bit of a chuckle out of that at a time when they could probably use a chuckle. So a simple project, an inexpensive project, a project that almost anybody can do. This is a group that is doing first aid supplies and doing assembly of kits to be used in their community. You can see their mask, and when they set up, they were appropriately distanced to do that. And then this one kind of blew me away. I have met Andrea. She wrote a children's book about vaccines, knowing that we are going to have a period coming up where children are going to be faced with, most likely, a needle in the arm, and to explain to them in the context of everything that's going on what that's all about. I thought that was just an incredible thing to do. All proceeds go to Polio Plus. I thought, wow, you talk about making lemonade out of lemons. Really, really impressive thing that she's done, and just a cool, creative way to get going. So I'd like to hear what your clubs could be doing or are doing in your community. And I'm going to stop this screen share. It's a chance for you all to share your great ideas, either about something you're doing or something that you could do. So feel free to unmute or just hit your space bar and give me your bright ideas so I can go brag on you to the next group.
Hi, this is Lynn Breifogel. We're in Danville, Pennsylvania, and the two things this is something that we actually always do, but we can continue it because it's still okay through COVID, and that is we've actually been participating in our monthly food bank distribution, and it's a drive-through. And so the clients are driving through, and we're just helping to put it into their vehicles, spaced out in a parking lot. The other thing that we do is we always work on cleaning up local playgrounds and parks, and it's a great time to be deadheading some flowers. And so we work on the riverfront park and playgrounds.
Two great ideas. We know that food insecurity is heightened right now. There's been more job displacement than we've ever seen in most of our lifetimes. That's fantastic. So you're distributing the food, correct, Lynn?
We help a local food bank in there because they need lots of people to distribute the food.
I've also heard of Rotary clubs that are doing collection the same way, drive-through collection, and then they're taking it to the food bank. So if we could get that club together with you, we'd have the whole cycle. But that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Lynn. Other great ideas.
Yes, Patrick, I have one. Swan Stoll here.
The Swan Stoll person.
How are you, Patrick? It's nice to see you. Okay, quickly. I'm from Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, 17 miles west of Danville. So we're doing a Pennsylvania thing here. We've had a lot of information in the news about our Constitution recently. As a result, we wanted to bring the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the amendments, and the Declaration of Independence into the hands of children. So, and without political oversight at all. So we searched and found a company that produces a pamphlet for $1, $1, with all of that in it, including some questions for the students who read this in the center, and a page number to go and find the answer. So it's an interactive kind of thing. the kicker here is that the man who runs this organization is a Rotarian. Thank you very much. I love that part.
Yep.
So we have decided that we have been giving these pamphlets out to students of the month for a long time. And we've decided to expand that and give it to the local 5th, 6th graders in our area, and are currently working with the schools to do that for educational. We want to educate the youth and have the kids have this document in their hands.
That's fantastic. That is great. And as you said, it doesn't have to be political. Doesn't have to be any side taking. This is Civics 101.
This is the only company that we found that produces this without being endorsed by one or the other factions. So I'd be happy to share it with anybody if they're interested in it.
I see some nodding heads. So if you have, if you're able to, you might go put that in the chat. Yep, I see Roseanne.
I'm going to do that. And the fellow's name that you're going to be writing to or calling, actually call him. And these are $1. His name is Andy. I'll put that in the chat.
That would be great. Thank you, Swan. Tracy, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just have a question for Swan, actually. Are you doing any kind of programming? Are you just like giving the pamphlets to the schools to give to the kids? Or are you doing some sort of programming or understanding why you're giving it or why they should bother reading it?
We're not doing that at this point. And this was a brand new idea this year, other than giving it to the kids in our Students of the Month. It's a brand new idea for us, so we have not developed it to that point yet. We do not want to stand in the way of politics. We do not want to get incorporated with politics. But this isn't about politics. This is about the founding fathers, and sorry about not being mothers. That was political. Yeah. This is about the documents that run our country. And people know precious little about it. Time first.
Not to go off on a tangent, but I just wanted to say in our area, they've had these, which we can't right now with COVID, but they've had some Constitution, I don't know if it's a day, but
I've read about that.
And like there's a booth for each amendment. So there's a lot you can do with that going forward when.
Thank you. I'll talk to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Swan, and thank you for proving the stereotype that immediate past district governors like to get the microphone back.
Stop it.
See all the PDGs on the call laughing all of a sudden. Okay. I think we maybe have time for one more. We can stretch a minute or so, and then we're going to wrap this up and keep things on time. Anybody else have a great idea you want to share for the whole group's benefit? So thank you all. The point of this, of course, is that we want to serve our communities, yes, but that we have to stay engaged with our members. Terry talked about it before. We don't want to find out that there were members who were drifting away, who were leaving us, who we could have gotten an important touch. And a member who is serving in your club is a member who's not leaving. Mm-hmm. But thank you so much, Jim. I'll turn it back over to you.
Very good. And I'll pass along that my Rotary Club did a shred event just a couple weeks ago, asking only for donations. And we generated about $1,500 that went to the food bank on a very simple, relatively low manpower event, and certainly a safe event to do that. So I want to say thank you to Governor Irvin and to our Assistant Rotary Coordinators, Scott and Terry, and also to our Rotary Coordinator, Patrick. Most importantly, though, I do want to say thank you to all of you for joining us today. This is part one of the Membership Summit. We looked at how to engage members today. Here's the thing. There have been some great ideas, some incredible skills that you possess, some knowledge that you have that's extremely valuable. Please do something with them, okay? My concern is with every training seminar that we walk away from, everybody says, boy, that was really great, and then we don't do anything. So please put what you've learned to use. I'll remind you that we have seminars coming up on the 9th, the 16th, and the 23rd and the 30th. Coming up next week, we're going to examine some membership opportunities and intentional membership strategies. I'll be posting a link from the recording for today's summit. I'll also be posting more information about the handouts. I know Patrick put that into into the chat somewhere along the line. So with the link going up there, if you want to see any part of this again, or if you know somebody who's not with us today, but who would benefit from seeing this, please pass that link along. With that, again, thank you and have a great evening.